Thank you, Mr. Williams. And a pleasant good afternoon to all who are listening via all the means. Today, we continue with our briefing, and I just want to highlight a few points as we prepare to open our borders. Yesterday, in the Prime Minister's briefing, press conference, he would have indicated that the month of October is being targeted as the month whereby our borders may be opening. Again, let me emphatically state, because I have been receiving a lot of calls, that the month of October has been the month of October has been considered as the date for reopening of all borders as indicated by the Honorable Prime Minister. Now, yesterday, the task force would have met with the senior management, in particular the chairman of the St. Christopher Air and Seaport Authority. And one of the things as we continue to look at generating economic activities and building relationships, so when we return to that state of safe operations, we can have our international partners give us preferences, because it's a competitive world and everybody is doing their best to establish themselves out there in the investors market. So what do I say? We have been in discussion with the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, where they are seeking to have layover of vessels in St. Kitts. Now, this dialogue again is ongoing, and we are looking at the possibility of having maybe 2 to 4 cruise ships dock at our ports for a period of approximately 27 days to a month, thereabout, ensuring that they will follow all the protocols prescribed by the Federation. We have been having this discussion, analyzing all the pros and cons, and a consensus has been reached whereby economic activities and a beneficial long-term relationship can be gained by allowing this to occur under the terms and conditions set by the federal authorities. Now, this discussion is ongoing. Nothing is written in stones, and we are hopeful that in the near future we can get back to you with some further information. What does this mean? Basically, as well, that the ships may have 60 to 70 crew members on board. These are men and women who have families, friends, and, being on sea, cruising without nowhere to go, nowhere to live, basically. Let me just say that. Living on the ship is one thing, but having the ability to have your foot on the ground is another thing. So we have to be mindful that they are human beings, and we are giving consideration to this situation. So we will get back to you, the general public, with more concise information regarding this venture. Again, let me repeat that October has been basically looked at as a potential date of opening our borders. What does this mean? This means that the measures being put in place to guide the general populace in adapting to the new norm has to be adopted by you. You have to have that buy-in. We have been doing everything to ensure that the non-pharmaceutical measures that we have been advising over and over are ingrained into our way of life. No, this has to have a cultural change, and this is what is required for us, a cultural change, because we are not going to go back to the normal thing. Even if tomorrow a vaccine is found, it's not like we're just going to flip a switch and we're going to go back to the normal. And we can see what has been happening. I can vividly recall that Dr. Wilkinson would have made a reference to New Zealand and the dance the Prime Minister in New Zealand would have done when they had the last recovery. And 102 days later, you see that New Zealand is now shutting down areas within New Zealand. And this is one of the things that we are saying we want to try to avoid here in St. Kitts and Nevis. The shutdowns and reopenings from the trends and patterns that we have been seeing is rather impactful on the economy, is rather impactful on the human being, in particular, our psychological well-being, and it's also impactful on our surroundings. So therefore, we are asking you to adopt the protocols that we have been advising you to, continue to do your research, and join the all of society approach to building resilience in St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, what is going to be required in opening our borders? The policies and procedures that you see, we are continuously working on. We have the regulations that we continue to enhance every time they conclude. And we also look at infrastructure development. You see what we are hoping to put in place at our borders in particular, and what we are doing in strengthening our medical sector. Also, you see what the ongoing training that is happening. And that is very critical, because that is what's going to shape the behavioral change that will be required for us to remain resilient or to become resilient. So these are critical things that you have to consider in terms of opening the borders. Now, let's be really mindful. Every single country that has opened their borders have had cases. So we are going to get cases in St. Kitts and Nevis. That's the reality. We cannot run away from it. It's inevitable. But what can we do so that we don't run into this seesaw effect, open and close, open and close? And it's by simply having you adapt to the new norm. I mean, you're still walking up 4th Street and you see 75% of the population not abiding by social distancing, not abiding by physical distancing. Again, I remember when everybody were walking with big bottles hanging from the side with alcohol. You're not seeing that now. Sanitizers now basically have become useless to some people, while others are doing their best. You hear Dr. Law speak about the restaurants and the bars, and I can recall in the meeting with the bars and the restaurants, persons were adamant that they don't think we need to do this, we don't think we need to do that. And these are the things that we are refusing to do that are going to help us to remain resilient. So we need to adapt. That's the reality. We can't run away from that. If we don't, all what we are doing right now is going to be useless. We have the hurricane season that is ongoing. We have peaked. We have now reached the time where we're going to see more frequent storms. We have that tropical depression 11 that's in the Atlantic at this moment. The forecast or the trajectory of this depression, tropical depression 11, seems to be passing north of St. Kitts and Nevis. However, we know that weather is dynamic, and by tomorrow we can have a different trajectory. What do I say? Please continue to prepare. Please review your hurricane plans, and if you don't have one, you have time to create a plan. It is important for you to know what to do, who to contact in the event that we are impacted by one of these storms. We have reached out. The National Emergency Management Agency has placed all of its national response mechanism on alert, that in the event we become under any type of advisory, there will be meetings held on Friday this week. So therefore, all of the NEMA stakeholders, partners, please be on the alert in the event that we are placed under any advisory, that you can act as quickly as possible. Continue to prepare. We need you to be prepared. With that said, thank you, and we look forward to your questions.